Picture this. You're walking into the most important room in the entire galaxy, and everybody's staring at you like you're some kind of walking disaster waiting to happen. That's exactly what's going down in the Galactic Council chamber right now. And let me tell you, it's not looking good for humanity. The chamber itself is absolutely massive. We're talking about a space so huge it could fit 3 football stadiums inside it. The ceiling stretches up so high you can barely see it, covered in these swirling energy patterns that shift and dance like the northern lights. Around the circular walls, 47 different species are sitting in their designated sections, each one more intimidating than the last. And there, right in the middle of all this alien magnificence, stands Captain Kate Miller. She looks like she's about to collapse under the weight of her own environmental suit. The thing is so bulky and clunky that she can barely walk properly. Every step makes this weird hissing sound as the life support systems work overtime just to keep her alive in this room. Her translation device, and I'm being generous calling it that, keeps crackling and popping like an old radio trying to pick up a station during a thunderstorm. Kate takes a deep breath through her suit's respirator and starts her pitch. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," she begins, her voice coming out tinny and distorted through the speakers. "I come before you today representing the human species of Earth, seeking peaceful trade partnerships and mutual cooperation among the stars." Now, let's talk about our audience, because these aliens are something else. Over in the hegemony section, you got Ambassador Zektor, who's basically a 7-foot-tall insect crossed with a knight in shining armor. His exoskeleton gleams under the chamber lights, and those mandibles of his keep clicking together in what can only be described as barely contained amusement. Every time Kate stumbles over a word, click, click, click. Every time her suit makes that embarrassing hissing sound, click, click, click. The Valdris delegation is even worse. These guys look like someone crossed an octopus with a tree, and their tentacles are doing this weird shaking motion. That's definitely not a good sign. In their culture, tentacle shaking is basically the equivalent of pointing and laughing. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Then you've got the Nexary representatives, who are essentially living crystal formations that communicate through musical tones. Right now, they're chiming in perfect harmony, and if you knew their language, you'd realize they're basically humming the galactic equivalent of a circus tune. The crystalline beings are literally treating this whole thing like entertainment. But here's the thing that really gets me. Kate knows she looks ridiculous. She's not stupid. She can see the Morvac ambassador over there casually grooming his scales like he's got better things to do. She can feel the weight of dozens of alien eyes studying her like she's some kind of museum exhibit labeled primitive species, handle with care. Her environmental readings keep flashing warning signals inside her helmet. The gravity in here is just slightly off from Earth normal, making her feel queasy. The atmospheric composition would kill her in minutes without the suit. The radiation levels from some of these alien species would give her cancer just from standing too close. And yet, she's here, representing 8 billion humans who are all counting on her to make this work. The worst part? She knows exactly what they're thinking. These aliens have species that can survive in the vacuum of space. They've got natural armor that can deflect energy weapons. Some of them don't even need oxygen to breathe. And here comes humanity, so pathetically fragile that they need a mobile life support system just to have a conversation. Kate watches as several junior representatives start checking their personal devices, obviously bored out of their minds. A few of them are already whispering to each other, probably planning their lunch or discussing more important galactic business. To them, this is just another routine rejection waiting to happen. Another primitive species that thought they were ready for the big leagues. The chamber's environmental systems hum quietly in the background, automatically adjusting for the comfort of 47 different species. Meanwhile, Kate's suit is working so hard to keep her alive that she's starting to worry about the battery levels. She's got maybe 2 hours before she needs to return to her ship. But here's what none of these aliens understand yet. Kate Miller didn't come here to beg. She came here to introduce them to something they've never encountered before. Something that's about to change everything they think they know about strength, survival, and what it really means to be dangerous in this galaxy. She's just getting started. So here we are, and High Counselor Vexany is getting ready to move things along with the standard diplomatic protocol. This is the part where new species get to officially state their case before getting politely rejected and sent home. It's happened thousands of times before. Same routine, same outcome. The counselor's got this whole rehearsed procedure down to a science. Vexani herself is quite a sight to behold. Picture a humanoid figure that's been stretched about 2 feet taller than normal, with skin that naturally shifts through different shades of blue and purple depending on her mood. Right now, she's displaying a calm, professional teal color that basically screams, "Let's get this over with so we can move on to important stuff." Representative of the unknown species, she announces in that official voice that echoes throughout the massive chamber, "Please provide your formal designation, population count, and planetary origin for the official record." Kate Miller takes another deep breath through her suit's respirator. The thing is still making those embarrassing mechanical sounds, but she's learned to work around it. She straightens her shoulders as much as the bulky environmental suit allows, and looks directly at the High Counselor. No hesitation, no nervousness in her voice, just plain, simple facts. "Honorable High Counselor," she begins, "I represent approximately 8 billion humans from our home world." She pauses for just a second, maybe to make sure her translator is working properly. "We call it Earth. Now, let me tell you what happens next, because it's absolutely wild. The change in the room is instant, and I mean instant. It's like someone just flipped a switch and transformed the entire atmosphere from routine, boring meeting to, holy cow, did she just say what I think she said? The first thing you notice is the silence. Not the comfortable kind of quiet you get when people are politely listening. This is the kind of dead silence that makes your ears ring. The kind of silence that happens right before something really, really bad goes down. Even the environmental systems seem to quiet down, as if the room itself is holding its breath. High Counselor Vexani's skin goes through what can only be described as a complete color malfunction. The calm teal starts flickering rapidly through yellow, then orange, then this deep, alarming shade of red that definitely doesn't mean anything good in her species' color language. Her eyes, which are about twice the size of human eyes, go wide enough that you can see the whites all around them. Ambassador Zekthor stops his mandible clicking completely. The guy has been making that sound for the past 20 minutes, and suddenly nothing. His entire massive frame goes rigid, like he's just been hit with a stun weapon. Those compound eyes of his are fixed on Kate with an intensity that would make most people want to crawl under a rock. Over in the Valdris section, those tentacles that were shaking with amusement, they're now completely motionless. Not relaxed, motionless. Frozen, solid, motionless. Like someone just told them their worst nightmare was standing right in front of them. The main Valdris representative, who's basically their version of a spokesperson, starts making these low, rumbling sounds that their universal translators can't even process. The Nexary crystalline beings stop their musical chiming entirely. For the first time since Kate entered the chamber, there's no harmonic background noise from their section. These creatures communicate exclusively through musical tones. So when they go silent, it's like watching someone suddenly lose their voice in the middle of a speech. But here's the thing that really gets you. Kate has absolutely no idea what's happening. She's standing there in her clunky suit, looking around the chamber with growing confusion. From her perspective, she just told them her planet's name. That's it. Nothing dramatic. Nothing threatening. Just a simple fact that should have been written down in some boring official record book. Did you just say... High Counselor Vexani's voice comes out as barely a whisper, then cracks completely. She clears her throat and tries again, her skin now cycling through colors so fast it looks like a broken neon sign. Did you just say Earth? Kate nods, and you can almost hear the collective intake of breath from 47 different species. Yes, ma'am. Earth, third planet from our sun, located in what you probably call the Orion arm of the galaxy. The confusion on her face is genuine. She's looking around the chamber like she just walked into a surprise party, except everyone looks terrified instead of happy. Her helmet's heads-up display is probably showing her elevated heart rate readings from the stress of not understanding why everyone just went from amused to absolutely horrified. What Kate doesn't realize is that she just spoke a word that appears in the oldest, darkest legends of every single species in that room. a word that's been whispered in their equivalent of campfire stories for thousands of years. She just told them she's from the place their ancestors warned them about. You know what's happening right now in that massive council chamber? Picture 47 different alien species all having the same terrifying realization at exactly the same moment. It's like watching a horror movie where everyone suddenly figures out the monster is real and it's standing right in front of them. These aliens aren't newcomers to the galaxy. We're talking about civilizations that have been around for thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of years. They built vast interstellar empires, survived galactic wars, and accumulated knowledge that spans entire millennia. Their databases contain everything: historical records, scientific discoveries, cultural archives, and most importantly, the old stories that get passed down from generation to generation. Right now, every single one of them is frantically accessing those ancient records, searching for one specific word. Their equivalent of computers, neural networks, crystalline memory cores, whatever technology they use. It's all focused on pulling up every reference to that one terrifying name, Earth. Ambassador Zekthor, who was so confident and amused just moments ago, looks like someone just told him his worst enemy was moving in next door. His entire exoskeleton is actually changing color, something that only happens when a species experiences extreme stress. Those mandibles that were clicking with amusement are now grinding together in what can only be described as pure anxiety. His compound eyes are darting back and forth as he accesses his species' genetic memory banks, hoping against hope that maybe, just maybe, this is some kind of cosmic coincidence. But it's not a coincidence, and deep down he knows it. The Valdris delegation has gone from tentacle-shaking amusement to complete rigidity. These beings normally move with fluid grace, their appendages constantly in motion, expressing emotions and thoughts through complex patterns. But right now, they might as well be statues. Their main representative is making these deep, thrumming sounds that their translators are struggling to process, sounds that roughly translate to expressions of deep concern and ancient fear. See, for these aliens, Earth isn't just another planet name in their star charts. It's the planet name, the one that appears in their oldest legends, their most ancient warnings, their darkest bedtime stories. It's the mythical death world that their ancestors spoke about in hushed tones around whatever they used for campfires. According to their legends, Earth is a world so impossibly hostile that no civilized species should be able to survive there. The gravity is crushing, the atmosphere is toxic, the weather patterns are violent and unpredictable. The very surface of the planet is supposedly crawling with creatures so dangerous that they make the galaxy's most feared predators look like harmless pets. But here's the really scary part. According to those same legends, the beings that somehow managed to evolve on this nightmare world became the most formidable species the galaxy had ever seen. Not because they were naturally armed or armored, but because surviving on Earth had made them so incredibly tough and adaptable that they could handle literally anything the universe threw at them. Kate Miller is still standing there, completely oblivious to the panic she's just caused. Her environmental suit is beeping softly with routine status updates, and she's probably wondering why everyone suddenly looks like they've seen a ghost. From her perspective, she just gave them basic information about her home planet. No big deal, right? Wrong. So very, very wrong. That's when Elder Morgeth speaks up, and let me tell you, this is huge. Elder Morgeth is the archive keeper for one of the oldest species in the galaxy. She's been alive for over 3,000 years, and all that time, she's spoken maybe a dozen words in council sessions. She usually just sits there, observing, keeping the old knowledge safe. When Elder Morgeth talks, everyone listens. Her voice sounds like ancient parchment being carefully unfolded, dry, fragile, but carrying the weight of countless centuries. We have records, she says, and the entire chamber somehow manages to get even quieter. Ancient records of a world so hostile that even the Devourers could not survive there. Now, when she mentions the Devourers, that's when things get really serious. The Devourers were basically the galaxy's version of the Boogeyman, a species so destructive and unstoppable that they consumed 17 entire civilizations before mysteriously vanishing from known space. Nobody talks about the Devourers unless things are really, really bad. Elder Morgeth continues, her ancient eyes fixed on Kate. The records speak of a species that emerged from this death world, being so adapted to survival that they turned the Devourer's own aggression against them. The chamber is so quiet you could probably hear a pin drop on the other side of the galaxy. Kate's looking around with growing confusion. Her helmet's display probably showing elevated stress readings as she tries to figure out why everyone suddenly looks absolutely terrified of her. What she doesn't understand yet is that she's not just a representative from some unknown species anymore. According to every legend, every ancient warning, every old story these aliens have been telling for thousands of years, she's something much more dangerous. She's a Terran, a child of Earth, a living legend that was never supposed to be real. All right, so let's talk about the Devourers for a minute, because understanding them is crucial to getting why everyone in this room is absolutely losing their minds right now. Picture the most terrifying thing you can imagine, then multiply it by about 1,000. The Devourers weren't just another aggressive alien species. They were a galactic extinction event with legs. For over 2 centuries, they swept through the Outer Rim territories like a plague, consuming everything in their path. And when I say consuming, I don't mean they just conquered planets or enslaved populations. They literally ate entire civilizations. These things could adapt to any environment within hours. Poison gas? They evolved to breathe it. Extreme radiation? They absorbed it and got stronger. Energy weapons? Their skin developed reflective properties. Biological warfare? They turned the diseases into food sources. Every single defense the galaxy tried against them just made them more dangerous. 17 civilizations fell to them. 17. We're talking about billions upon billions of lives, entire cultures, thousands of years of accumulated knowledge in art and music. All gone. Just devoured. The Keth Mori Empire, which has stood for 10,000 years, lasted exactly 3 weeks against them. The crystal singers of Vex Prime, who could manipulate matter at the molecular level, were consumed in a single day. And then, just when it looked like nothing could stop them, they vanished, completely disappeared from known space, like they'd never existed at all. The galaxy spent the next 1,000 years rebuilding, always wondering what had happened to them, always terrified they might come back. Now, Counselor Thax is sitting in his designated area, and his entire world is falling apart. His species has this thing called genetic memory. Basically, traumatic events get encoded into their DNA and passed down through generations. Right now, those ancient memories are flooding through his consciousness like a dam breaking. He's remembering stories his great-great-grandmother told him about the impossible death world, a planet where the gravity is so strong it would flatten most aliens into pancakes within minutes, where the atmospheric pressure would crush your lungs before you could even scream, where the oxygen concentration is so high it's basically poisonous to most life forms, where the temperature swings between the light and dark cycles would freeze you solid or cook you alive, sometimes within the same day. But here's the thing that's really messing with his head. Kate Miller just casually mentioned that 8 billion humans live on this nightmare world. 8 billion. That's not a small research station or a desperate survival colony. That's a thriving civilization that somehow made this death world their home. Thax is literally having trouble breathing, which is saying something because his species has 3 different respiratory systems for backup. His scales are shifting through colors that haven't been seen since the Devourer Wars, deep reds and blacks that signal primal terror. Then Kate does something that changes everything. She reaches up and starts unfastening her helmet. The chamber collectively holds its breath as she disengages the seals and lifts the protective gear off her head. Remember, everyone in this room needs some kind of environmental protection just to survive here. The Nexary crystalline beings have energy fields. The Valdris have specialized breathing apparatus. Even the tough-as-nails hegemony warriors were partial atmosphere converters. The chamber's environmental systems are working overtime to maintain conditions that won't immediately kill anyone. And Kate? She just starts breathing the air like it's no big deal. But it's not just that she can survive in the chamber's atmosphere. It's what everyone sees when they look at her unprotected face. Those eyes, they're positioned on the front of her skull, not the sides. That's the mark of a predator species. Eyes designed for tracking prey, for judging distances when hunting, for focusing on a target with deadly precision. Her skin is completely exposed, with no natural armor plating, no protective scales, no hardened carapace. It should be getting damaged by the radiation levels in the chamber. Should be reacting negatively to the atmospheric composition. Instead, it's just fine, like this environment that requires massive technological support for everyone else to survive is perfectly comfortable for her. And when she smiles, trying to be friendly and diplomatic, they see those teeth, not the flat grinding teeth of herbivores, not the specialized filtering systems of energy feeders, pointed canines designed for tearing meat, the unmistakable dental structure of an omnivorous apex predator. Elder Morgetha's ancient voice cuts through the stunned silence again. The legends speak of beings who walked unprotected on the surface of the death world, who breathed poison as easily as we breathe standard atmosphere, whose very biology was shaped by surviving the unsurvivable. Kate's looking around the chamber, still completely confused about why everyone seems terrified of her. She probably thinks she's being polite by removing her helmet, showing her face as a gesture of respect and openness. What she doesn't realize is that she's just confirmed every terrifying legendary species have been telling their children for 1,000 years. She's not just a representative from some unknown world anymore. She's proof that the legendary Terrans, the apex survivors who somehow stopped the unstoppable devourers, are real, they're alive, and they've just walked into the galactic community like it's no big deal. The galaxy's greatest mystery has just been solved, and everyone in that room is starting to understand that they're not looking at another potential member species. They're looking at the reason the devourers never came back. What happens next is absolutely insane, and Kate Miller is about to get the shock of her life. High Counselor Vexani doesn't even call for discussion. No committee meetings, no lengthy debates, no bureaucratic red tape that usually takes months to sort through. She stands up at the kind of formal ceremony that's normally reserved for declaring war or announcing the discovery of new galaxies. Her skin has stabilized into this deep, reverent purple color that signals the highest level of respect in her species. By the ancient accords and the emergency powers vested in this council, she announces, her voice carrying across the chamber with absolute authority, the Galactic Council hereby grants immediate full membership status to the Terran species of Earth, with all attendant rights, privileges, and mutual defense agreements. The vote that follows isn't even close. It's unanimous. 47 different species, many of whom can barely agree on what time to have lunch, all vote yes without a single moment of hesitation. No amendments, no conditions, no probationary period. Just straight up, full membership with every benefit the galaxy has to offer. Kate is standing there in the middle of this massive chamber, still holding her helmet, looking like someone just told her she'd won the lottery while simultaneously being struck by lightning. Her mouth is actually hanging open a little bit, and you can see her trying to process what just happened. "Wait," she says, her voice echoing in the sudden silence after the vote. "What just happened? I thought this was supposed to be an evaluation process. Don't you want to know about our technology levels, our military capabilities, our trade resources?" That's when Ambassador Zektor does something that would have been unthinkable just 10 minutes ago. The 7-foot-tall armored insect, who was literally clicking his mandibles in amusement at her earlier, approaches her with the kind of slow, respectful movements usually reserved for approaching war memorials or religious shrines. When he reaches her, he does something that shocks everyone, including himself. He performs a hegemony salute of ultimate respect, a gesture that his species only uses when acknowledging someone who has saved their entire civilization. His massive form actually lowers into what can only be described as a bow. "Captain Miller," he says, and his voice is completely changed. Gone is the amused superiority, replaced by something approaching awe. "Your people are legends to us. Living legends. We have been telling stories about Terrans for over 1,000 years, wondering if you were real or just myths we created to give ourselves hope during the darkest times." Kate's confusion is written all over her face. "Stories? What kind of stories?" Elder Morgetha speaks up again, her ancient voice carrying across the chamber. "Stories of the species that turned back the devourers. Stories of being so resilient that they made the galaxy's greatest threat simply disappear. Stories we told our children to help them believe that sometimes, against impossible odds, someone finds a way to win." That's when it starts to click for Kate. You can actually see the moment when understanding dawns in her eyes. The pieces are falling into place. The strange reactions, the immediate fear followed by respect, the incredibly fast vote. This wasn't a membership interview at all. You weren't evaluating us, she says slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. You were recruiting us? Ambassador Zektor nods solemnly. Captain, for 1,000 years, the galaxy has lived in fear that the Devourers might return. Every species here has contingency plans, evacuation routes, last resort weapons. But deep down, we all knew that if they came back, we would likely face the same fate as the 17 civilizations that fell before. He gestures around the chamber at all the alien representatives. Until today, we believed our only hope was that maybe, somewhere out there, the legendary Terran still existed. That maybe, if the worst happened again, Earth's children would once more stand between the darkness and the light. Kate's looking around the chamber, with new eyes now. These aren't just potential allies or trade partners. These are civilizations that have been carrying the weight of cosmic-level fear for centuries, all hoping against hope that humanity, her people, would someday return to help protect them. We're not just joining the council, she realizes out loud. We're becoming the galaxy's ultimate insurance policy. Elder Morgeth finishes for her. The shield that stands between civilization and extinction. The proof that some fights can be won, even when victory seems impossible. The weight of what just happened is starting to settle on Kate's shoulders. Humanity didn't just get accepted into the galactic community. They've been handed the keys to the kingdom and asked to be its protectors. 8 billion humans just became the most important species in the galaxy. Not because of their technology or their weapons, but because they represent something that every other species thought was just a beautiful dream. They represent hope. They represent the idea that no matter how bad things get, no matter how impossible the odds seem, there's always a way to survive, to fight back, to win. And now, standing in that massive chamber surrounded by representatives of 47 alien civilizations, Kate Miller realizes that humanity's greatest adventure is just beginning. They're not just exploring the stars anymore. They're protecting them.